Welcome to another Watercolor Wednesday, everybody. Today I'm going to be giving you a few techniques on how to drastically improve your watercolor painting. The first tip is definitely to tape the borders of your watercolor paper prior to beginning your painting. This ensures just a really neat, clean, and tidy look. Even if your painting doesn't turn out the way that you thought it would, at least it looks professional and clean. The second tip involves the wet and wet technique. So as you see me doing here, I am going over the piece of paper several times with water to ensure even distribution of the water and to avoid those pools of water that tend to form in the corners of the piece of paper. And two ways you can do this to avoid the pooling is to, like I said, go over it several times, but also invest in a good quality brush. So I used a mop brush as you saw me do, and I'll link that exact mop brush that I use in the description if you feel that that might improve your application of water. And then when you are actually applying your colors to create a background gradient, what I like to do is start at the top and the bottom of the piece of paper and gradually work towards the center of the paper. This ensures that you have the colors that you want at the top and the bottom, and you blend them accordingly. So I added a few more colors than just two colors. So when you do add several colors, make sure that you go, when you're blending it, blend it all the way to the top of the page or to the bottom of the page. And again, this ensures a really smooth transition between the colors that you're using. While that first painting is drying, I'm just working on the second one. I'm using slightly different colors for the second one, but exactly the same technique. Again, to ensure that smooth transition, make sure that you blend the colors all the way to the bottom or all the way to the top of the page, and this prevents really intense colors in random places on your page. If you're going for a really intense look, then perhaps that might work for you, but we're going for a really gradual gradient here, and that's why you want to mix all the way from the middle to the top or the bottom. Another tip is when it comes to intensifying the colors of your gradient, as I wanted to do here, make sure that your page is completely dry before adding another layer. And once it is completely dry, you want to add another very thin layer of water to cover the entire page before adding more colors or more intense pigments. And you do this because you don't want to reactivate the paint that is in the first layer or the second layer, whatever layer you're on. You don't want to reactivate the layers that are underneath because then it might spoil your painting. It will take away from that smooth transition that we're going for. So once your backgrounds are completely ready and dry, you can start adding some details. So I wanted to go for a mountainscape here because I really enjoy painting mountains. And the first thing that you can do is you can create the shaded or darker part of the mountain as basically your guide for the rest of the mountain. And this is the part where the sun doesn't shine, essentially. So we're adding a little bit of reality here, and it also creates depth when you create a shaded part on your mountain. So I also created a slightly smaller mountain right beside it. You can add even more realism to your mountain by creating these brush strokes, as you see me doing here, that kind of swoop towards the shaded part but don't touch it. It adds these realistic grooves in mountains that you traditionally see, especially in mountains in Hawaii. They really have those natural grooves in the mountainscape. So while that one is drying, because I am going to add a few more mountains to that painting, I decided to work on the second one using that same mountain technique. I really did not like how this particular one turned out, so you're going to see me slightly altering it in a bit. But yeah, I'm just basically altering, going back and forth between the two paintings, waiting for one to dry while I work on the other one. But essentially, I'm just using the same technique for both paintings in terms of painting the mountains. So on this second one, like I said, I didn't really like how it turned out. It wasn't really like I envisioned it. So I'm just creating another mountain in the front using a darker pigment to make it look like it is closer to the viewer. And you're just using those same techniques that I mentioned earlier, the sort of dark brush strokes going from the bottom of the mountain towards the darker part to make it look like there are grooves. Here I didn't really like how small the shaded part of the mountain was, so I just went over it again. But again, you can use your judgment to make sure that you're adding the appropriate amount of depth to your mountains. In the meantime, I'm just going to remind you guys, if you haven't subscribed to my channel already, I do encourage you to do so. I have plenty of videos and tutorials on watercolor painting that I'm sure you would really enjoy. And also consider hitting the like button because it does help me grow my channel. So as you can see me doing here, I'm just flicking on some white acrylic paint very lightly to both paintings to add kind of a starry night sky effect. And I also created sort of shooting stars in random places as well, just to add a little bit more complexity to the painting, make it look a little bit more interesting than just a blank sky. Once you've added all of the details, don't forget to peel your tape off. I forgot to do that in this painting, but you will be left with really clean borders, and that's about it. Have a wonderful day, guys, and thank you very much for watching.